Brunch. My name is Anya Adams.
And I'm Fanshen Cox. And this is Sister Brunch. We are the place where Black women plus working in media entertainment share how we are making our marks. That's what we're here for.
That's right. So get ready to hear some great stories, amazing stories about women breaking into the industry and navigating through the deep, dark corners and the circles and the whatever they got to go through to make it in the industry. And also, it's a place for you to find inspiration. So to hear about these women talk about their lives, how they got to where they are, and how you can follow in their footsteps if you're looking to do that.
Our guest today is Felischa Marye. She's a TV writer. Yes, she's a TV writer and the creator and co-executive producer of Bigger. It's a comedy series on BET Plus, which is, we got to get into all of this. Okay. And she worked for a very long time in PR and marketing in Chicago. And then she moved to LA to attend UCLA's MFA screenwriting program. And that's where she started her big old industry career, and we're going to learn lots more. But while in film school, I mean, this is like, I don't know how you all do it. While in film school, she sold a pilot to HBO, so just there.
You may have heard of him. You may have heard of
and
HBO.
And then later got staffed on Netflix's 13 Reasons Why.
She's been making you cry, y'all.
I love to cry and laugh. I love to cry and laugh.
Yes. All right, so Felischa's show Bigger, about a group of Black women in Atlanta on the quest for bigger, more meaningful lives, is a reflection of her own journey to fulfilling her lifelong dream of becoming a writer.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So speaking of dreaming big, at some point you were a little girl somewhere in the world. And
I was born a little girl.
Did you already have dreams about what you would eventually do, or
I think my first dream was to be a bus driver. Once I got past that, after being ignored by every adult when I would bring that up, my first dream was to be an actress. And, television. I grew up, I have a lovely sister that, look, this is a hood story. We met later in life, and my father's other daughter.
Okay.
But I was raised an only child.
Uh-huh.
So the television was my brother, sister, best friend. And I just wanted to be the people on the TV. I didn't know people made TV and what that looked like, but that was my first dream.
Wow.
Yes.
What were some of your favorite shows?
Good Times,
yes.
Number one, All in the Family, anything from that vein. Facts of Life, and then, getting older, I started to like Friends and Living Single. I call Friends the white Living Single because it is. So I love those shows in the 90s, and Martin and A Different World, and so many. And then, as I mature, Sex and the City was a favorite, and still to this day is a big inspiration.
I mean, can we just point out that those were shows where you saw people that looked like you, even as far back as we could go, right? And when we were young. And I think about, oh my goodness, what if we hadn't even had those, right?
Oh my God, I wouldn't be here. I mean, if it wasn't for, I told Eric Monte, who was co-creator of Good Times and writer of Cooley High, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
And he's had a stroke in later in life, and I was able to meet him at a guild meeting, a WGA meeting, the Committee of Black Writers meeting, and a couple of times. And I told him if he didn't jump that train, because he jumped a train to get here from Chicago.
What?
And that's how. And part of that story in Cooley High Preach's story is his story about being this sort of elevated young man with these dreams and these gifts and this gift of writing in the hood, and then him escaping. Just even knowing the sort of that backstory, which I learned later. But I think I saw his story through his writing, and I just, because I lived in Chicago, that's Good Times was in Chicago, or about Chicago. That was a subtle influence that, in retrospect, at meeting him as an adult, I realized, wow, I think if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you.
Somebody was on Twitter talking about what are Black famous people, list Black famous people that if you said them to a white person, they would never know. Cooley High is one of those examples of a film.
Yes.
Right? And it's so important. It's integral to us seeing ourselves and then also us knowing that, because then how did you make the leap from seeing it on a screen to knowing how to do it yourself?
Oh, yeah. I think it's just, like I said, I didn't know that there were writers of the show when I was watching the show as a kid. So at some point, when I just knew what I could see are actors. So that became my obsession. So in undergrad, I did study acting. I auditioned for the theater program there, got in, studied acting, thought I would do it professionally, but somewhere along the line, I was raised by my great-grandparents.
Oh, wow.
My parents, product of the 60s, kind of, got caught up in drugs and alcohol, and unfortunately weren't able to raise me. And the matriarch of the family actually was my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother.
Wow.
And so because of the sort of generational gap, I did watch a lot of television to stay current. Otherwise, I'd have been out here bad. But then they just let me sort of do me because they were like, "You going to school past 8th grade is good.
Just keep going."
Yeah. So I had a freedom, but it's interesting. But I put these own. We deal with our parents' influences in Bigger, but I didn't have a lot of parental influence. I actually put limitations on myself. Like I'm like, how am I going to live as an actress? How does that work? And and I got super scared about it, like at 19, and I was just like, I can't do that. I need a real job when I get out here. So I switched to broadcast journalism. Not knowing that that's damn near not a real job either. But
right.
Oh, I'm on a podcast talking about journalism ain't a real job. But I'm just saying, like, it pays.
Journalists, by the way, so
I appreciate you. No, I mean, like, it is. You start off lowly paid. It's a struggle.
These are all the facts.
But
these are like that.
No, but it's true because like the rejection factor isn't there as much as it is for an actor, right? Like you can get something.
You can find the job. Like I got the internship at a news station, and it felt tangible to me. It felt like, okay, you're getting a paycheck that I know should be coming every 2 weeks, so I did that. That's how that led to closely related as PR to journalism. So that's how I got into PR. And so it was like I just lived this sort of safe life. Like this feels stable. I could not find my space because it wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Right.
And so I kept running. So I would see sets in Chicago and want to cry, just get emotional. And I was like, oh God, that's not going to go away. I would watch the Oscars and have two elaborate Oscar parties. Just because I wanted to be there, you know what I mean? So I just had this hunger for it, and I realized by my mid-30s, which partially inspired the idea of Bigger. In my mid-30s, that's when I sort of hit that early midlife crisis of like, I can't do this anymore. I can't fake it. There's nothing I can acquire that will make me happy. It felt good to say no and walk away, and then move to LA with a roommate for that old.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it just
right. So how do you mind saying how old
I would say this journey started in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
So I was pretty up there by the time I was applying to health school.
Right. Which is an awesome thing I think for our listeners to hear. It's like this can happen at any age, and you're following your heart, your passion. You're going to come to it.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
so wonderful. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of our conversation with the PR maven turned show creator, Felischa Marye.
And here we are. You're listening to Sister Brunch with Anya Adams and Fanshen Cox. Here's more of our conversation with Felischa Marye. The other thing about being older and coming into the industry, well, quote unquote older, right? What Hollywood considers older, right? Is that you now are bringing all this other experience. I think about Ava DuVernay, who was also in PR and marketing. And that meant that once she started to be able to tell her stories, she knew how to do, like she not only told the story, but knew how to get people into it. I can imagine that helped you in pitching for your show, right?
Certainly.
So all those things you did, even though you knew they weren't the thing.
Yeah.
Those also fed you for what you eventually did.
And I had no idea they would.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think about
at the
that.
time,
I thought
like,
it was a deficit
right.
age. I thought it was a deficit. I didn't move out here at 22 and started this career.
Yeah.
But it actually was a benefit in so many ways.
Yeah.
Number one, like you said, pitching. I was able to sell something in film school, like a pilot in film school, because and that was my first pitch. I didn't have like reps yet or anything. And that was because I pitched things I hated, not things I didn't care about.
Right.
And
Where
PR,
you could go out and
buy this
step in a
widget
room.
I don't give a shit about. You know what I'm saying? So
but you could step into a room and be comfortable.
Yeah. I was nervous as hell, but
Or
or I knew how to pull out a story a story on why something is important or why something should
powerful.
be. You know what I
mean?
mean?
And the thing is, I don't even think people appreciate too, like a Black woman doing that, like, because we already have the, we don't see ourselves, or they're gonna say this, or and it could be our own mind, and a lot of times it's also just what we see reflected, but. I just love knowing that you had that much confidence still in school to pitch your pilot and them buy it.
She said, we'd like you to pitch this. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to pitch this. And I was afraid. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was a chance encounter. I mean, through a fellowship that I was in with Film Independent that I met this executive.
Love Film Independent.
I was in project involved. They had, like a panel discussion with HBO execs one day.
Yeah.
And there was lunch after, and I met one of the comedy execs who's the head of comedy now there, who's a fabulous woman, and she liked me. I was like, feet don't fail me now. I gotta be charming. She was right next to me.
Yes.
And she brought me in for a meeting and read my material, which at the time I only had drama. I wanted to be a comedy writer, but I was testing out like what I wanted to be, and I had this like dark drama where someone dies at the end, and that's what they read, but she obviously saw a voice, and that's
good
how
writing.
I got there.
Yeah, that's yes.
Thank you.
Well, we had our other writer that we've had so far, so I love this. We heard this theme of your voice, like the importance of your own voice.
Yes.
And now that we know a little bit about your background growing up, we know that that's what you did on Bigger. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
It's that idea of, is this it? There are a lot of shows that talk to millennials, and a lot of shows, it's like millennials figuring out, but it really is like millennials figuring out like millennials aren't getting older. And so my whole thing was, hey, millennials, they're not that same 28-year-old millennial, like, I'm
Party
still
of
living at
five.
home. And yeah, exactly. They're looking 40 in the face.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? And I know what it meant for me, and that's what we gave to the main character, Lane, who, in the pilot, we meet her in her life after she's walked away from her corporate job and is trying to make her small business survive of her vintage shop. And, and so it's and then all of her friends are at different points of their bigger, wondering if there's something bigger and better in life, or is this really it?
Right.
And especially in a city like Atlanta, which is like the baby Hollywood now, as it relates to, and not just with people in entertainment and everything. It's like people move there to make their dreams come true, to have a big house, and so there's this thing, I feel like, that was LA a long time ago that is there now, which is even if you live there, you feel this pressure to be great. And sometimes that could be a fruitless chase, because what does being great mean? Are we chasing something shallow? Are we chasing something meaningful? So that's the question of the show too. Is this bigger going to make you happy or not? And is for even in both career and in personal life, because bigger means a little something else, ladies. Wink, wink.
Well,
can you, like, do you just settle for what's not bigger because it's comfortable and safe, or it feels safe, like a job, or something else?
Something else.
It sounds like this is Chris. It sounds like what you're saying is it a case of doing what you can with what you have.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or striving for more. And guess what? I don't have the answer. And that's why I love the show, because it's exploration. I'm literally asking the same question today in my own life.
What a beautiful thing to not supply all the answers.
Yes.
And to tell us that it's okay to not know, to not have all the answers.
And let's all play with the idea of it and figure it out.
And it's also fascinating to watch all these different people going for that. And
yes.
You can see those different pieces in your life of
yes.
like, oh, yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yes, thank
you.
So
I'm so curious because we talk a lot about how challenging it is to often be the only one in the room, right? And what the ways that it messes with our own brain and, limits us. But I'm imagining with BET Plus, I hope you are not the only one in the room when you're talking, right? So, okay, good, because you never know. Just because
I'm one
it's
of many.
Good.
And our writer's room was black. We had a writer's assistant that was not black that did get an episode, but in terms of and she did a great job. Wow. Episode 9, Brianna, probably wouldn't know what she is. Brianna
from the
name,
anything.
Yep.
I love it.
But she did a great episode, and she was our writer's assistant. But the actual writing staff, 100% black writing staff, and of course, BT, our development execs are black, so we didn't have to have that. We didn't have to they got it.
You didn't have to explain
They got
anything.
And
the
let me ask you
blackness of
this:
it.
was it hard for you to find black writers?
No.
Oh, that's so funny
Yeah,
because they always tell
for
us.
everybody else it is, right?
They tell us
Yeah,
it's
it
so
wasn't hard
hard.
for you to
They tell us
find
it's so
staff an entire
hard.
room of
Not
talented
at all.
black
They just
writers.
we met with many very talented.
met
black
with many?
writers. Yeah.
Many,
Oh,
there are
There's many out here.
Look at, well,
at
look at
work.
that.
We have work.
How
do
did
you
you
know?
find
I
them?
don't know. It's weird. Like we just sort of said we're opening a room.
Okay.
And well, we know black writers being black, so they, our showrunner, our marvelous showrunner, Devon Shepard, having come up through like Everybody Hates Chris, and he did the third season of Being Mary Jane, and from Weeds, and helped develop Dear White People. Like he came from like that, so he's met a lot of people on his journey, so he knows a lot of writers. So if people knew black people,
so we're out here,
in
like
this industry,
yes, we
then
exist.
That's definitely not a problem.
Now, were there
fantastic.
things that are surprising to you about now that you're finally in the room with us? That you're like, oh, maybe this could be a drawback, or is there anything like that?
No, and I did like having someone in the room. Like I said, our writer's assistant was Caucasian, and I did like having someone in the room because we don't want to like villainize our white character.
Sure.
Yeah,
Because like in the 70s, it'd be like the little white person in the room there didn't get is trying to talk jive. We didn't want to do that. I mean, I think we've come too far for that. So we wanted to give honesty. Like, what is intention? Like sometimes. I mean, we have the alt-right and those idiots, and we have, like, straight-up racists, but then we have a lot of liberal people think they're doing well, think they're doing it, and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to look at, we're not done it, you're not done it all. So we wanted to deal with that.
That's great.
And
that
still be honest about it. And, like, she thought she was doing something.
I love that you're hitting that because that's something that we don't see a lot on television, and it is true. It's like, let's take a look at like the folks that think they're really making a difference when they're really not, because it's not thoughtful. It's about themselves. It's not about me or you. It's not a thought process, and that's fantastic.
And then with that, because we had this yoga chick, I'll call her yoga chick, she's called something else in the show, who was white and problematic, liberal, and but I also wanted to play with the idea, like when we talk about gentrification, and that's the conflict in which we deal with this yoga chick, who is pushing back on some of the like a black homeless guy in this neighborhood where Lane, the main character who's black, owns a shop. It's set in Little 5 Points, which is a very gentrified community. It's just think, Echo Park, you know what I mean? Like in Chicago, like Bucktown. But whatever the case, just this idea that how are we different? Because class is really what gentrification's about, right? So at the point that, like in Chicago, I was moving in Bronzeville and hoping the crackheads moved out. You know what I'm saying? How am I different from Christy, the yoga chick?
Right.
Exactly.
And so we try to villainize
gentrify,
them,
right? Like,
but it's really we gentrify ourselves, And so we deal with that, and what ways that
this is on BET Plus.
I'm excited.
Girl, let's get this out on HBO. This needs to get it out. This is Sister Brunch with Fanshen Cox and Anya Adams. We'll be back in a moment.
Did you know what this is? Were you in your head like, what is this? I'm going to tell you. It's Sister Brunch with Anya Adams and Fanshen Cox. Now back to our interview. This is so tough for us, right? It's like we need BET, we need TV One, like we need our places to tell our stories.
Sure.
And at the same time, our stories are universal. Right. Like these are not, we're human beings just like everybody else. What do we do with that now when we're in this period where there's so much content available? Where do we want to put our stories? And did you think about that when you were pitching Bigger, like where you wanted it to be?
No, it kind of happened the other way around. It was I had a general meeting with Will Packer's company that ended up turning into a meeting about a conversation that Will Packer had with the head of BT about like a friend show, and it started there, and it was developing something for regular BT. But then down the line, they said that this would actually go on a new platform they'll be launching. This would be streaming, which was music to my ears because I'm more of a streaming platform or premium
latitude.
Yeah, the more latitude. Censorship is not my friend.
Yeah.
And not my voice. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Okay, so I have a question because we
Yes.
kind of jumped into bigger. We
Yes.
we need to talk about it more, but I want to ask you about. So from school,
Okay.
you sold HBO pilot,
Yes.
and then like now you're doing bigger. So what happened in between that time? Did you work in some rooms?
I worked in. I basically right after I sold the pilot, I got a day job for a while when it didn't go, and that's another thing
What did
about.
you do?
Yeah, what did you do?
I went back to a P. This felt like backwards like hell, and I was very in my feelings about it, and I'm real honest about it, and it's a part of bigger the back and forth of things. Like just because you go out of your dream doesn't mean it's a straight line to the top. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like. In words, I made it when I sold, the pilot development deal.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, what? And then it's like, a year later, it's like, oh, it ain't gonna be no shout out. And the money's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm about to graduate from UCLA. Wow. Or I just graduated. So bills in 6 months I'm going to have to pay. So I actually for about a year and a half worked at an ad agency doing PR. Was miserable. No disrespect to the agency. I was miserable because of the...
for you.
But
did you do stuff at night?
The Lord was on my side there too because
coming through the Lord.
I was like, I'm going to take a low level so I'm not overworked so I can write at night, all that. So I did like a manager level, didn't even put a VP on my resume so that they would actually not think I'm overqualified. And then like, I'm going to hide out and be like, act like a 20-year-old.
Black woman dumbing herself down.
I dumbed myself down, down.
God.
Like, I don't know how to do that. And then the boss who created that unit of PR at this ad agency quit like in like a month or 2 months. She literally just created the thing.
And they were like, you ain't.
And they were looking at me. I'm like, no,
dumb.
I'm not doing it. I told them I'm not. How it's bad when you have been refusing promotions.
Right,
I was like, I'm not doing it. I don't know nothing.
I don't know.
Don't look at me.
I don't know
So
how
they
to do
hired another person. She happened to be black.
Oh,
okay.
She knew my dream, and she would let me like go to meetings and like screenwriting scenes will be here, like that kind of thing. She's even younger than me. She didn't even know she was younger than me at the time. And I'm like, girl, you're cool, and because she was like a singer too. Like everybody in LA is something else anyway.
Yeah, of course.
So it was different from being in Chicago trying to do that because I would have to disappear for meetings and all this, So I was going on staff meetings. So eventually, I got staffed on 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, so that was your
first job? Yes, that was my first job.
So you worked 2 years on 13 Reasons Why, and now you got your own show?
Yes.
Girl, you
see,
it's the Lord's. It's the universe.
It's you.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
it's in that.
You.
What?
In that.
That's
beautiful.
That was a blessing.
So, because I direct, so I work a lot with showrunners, and I think it's like a skill that you have to learn.
Yes.
But also you had such a lot of experience coming up into it. Do you feel like you were able to transition into it well?
I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I know some people have this thought like you don't need a showrunner as a new creator, like you can figure it out. But again, the universe sent me an article right before like this show was officially going to be a series and not just a pilot script. It was like a New York Times article talking about creators being set up. I think it was New York Times. Creators being set up to fail by running their own shows the first season. And the quote said, showrunners are made, not born. And that to me was my reinforcement because there were plenty of people saying, wow, you can run your own show, you can run. And I'm like, I'm too new. This is not like intuitive job like that.
Right.
So
actually,
that
on that point, can we describe, because showrunner, we use it a lot here, but it's something I had never heard of, obviously, before coming to Hollywood.
Right.
If you hear, you know what a producer is, executive producer, but tell us what a showrunner is, and then what is a day like, a day in the life of a showrunner on your show.
Sure. They are the head writer, number one. So they are the final say on everything. And to be the final say on everything, you have to have had time in the game, skin in the game to know what won't work and will. Like, I know this won't work because of X. Or I know this is too much dialogue and this will kill our day. Or like I won't have that kind of, with having been on set for 2 days in my career as a writer. That, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before this moment.
Oh, just stop for 1 second.
Yes.
As a writer, when you write an episode, you sometimes get to go
to
set.
But
to represent
depends
your
on the
script.
show.
So on 13 Reasons Why?
I was on someone else's script for 2 days, but it was someone else's script. Those 2 seasons, I had only had 2 set days.
2 days on
set. As a staff writer, you may never go on set.
Wow.
Like, it depends on how, it flows.
Wait. So So you had 2 days on set, and then you were
Girls,
show running your own.
Well, I
your
was
show
the
running.
creator and learning to show run from my showrunner because I said I would like to be paired with a showrunner because that is before right now, like it's so many creators and so much content. It was always that unless you had a lot of time in the game in television, or at least a bit of time in the game in television, I had very little time in the game.
Yes.
Like, I'm not. And then I saw that article. So I was not mistaken.
Right.
I'm sure some people would have liked me not to have one, so because they had one less person they had to pay. But I wasn't going to be set up to fail. Right. and and this show wouldn't be that show without the showrunner because of his. Just mentioned his resume. Yeah. He also knows pitfalls of comedy and how to run a room. So also what a showrunner does is they manage the writer's room because, you can stay stuck on an idea for an hour if you're not careful. So they keep the room running. They make decisions where we can't decide on what we want to do or they answer to the network. They're the manager of the entire show.
Gotcha.
And don't they do a lot in post too?
They are sitting and editing.
Edits.
So I'm sitting and editing with him. Basically, I'm literally and he allowed there have been lots of stories, and this is where I've had good grace too. A lot of stories about creators and showrunners not getting along, or showrunners taking over a creator show or making it their own. He was always very good about this is your vision, this is your show. My job is to help it come to life. Yeah.
Amazing.
And teaching me how to do the thing. Yeah. So that, and we have the same sense of humor. That was a magic pairing. Yeah. So that's really the job of a showrunner. They hire, all the lead top people for all the roles as it relates to behind the scenes. And then, we all collectively, us and Will Packer, pick casting. Yes. And so that's a very collaborative. Everything's collaborative. But the writer's room and production really leans heavy on the showrunner.
I think it was such a smart idea for you and choice for you to choose someone to help you.
Absolutely.
Because I think you can get caught up in the allure of Hollywood and be like, oh yeah, they put me, this is my show, it's going, I'm going to do it. I know what I'm talking about. And then you fail because you really don't. And
even though you had a great,
will eat you alive. If they see that you are weak and you're not capable.
Absolutely.
They
will.
And
I didn't want to
devour.
Exactly.
Do you have a life outside of
work? I do. I have not a love life, but I have a great. I date. I think literally the universe must want me to keep writing dating stories because it keeps making my shit funny. I'm like, are you serious, universe?
So, what do you do what's your self-care regime? Do you have one? How do you take care of yourself mentally, physically?
Mentally, I'm a spa girl. I love a massage. I love a Thai. I discovered Thai massages in LA when I could afford to have massages after film school. And then I like going out. I find story in life. I'm not one of those writers who. I'm not a recluse. I think that's why I can write a fun show because I'm in these streets. I'm a little old for it, but I be in these streets when I can.
Can I ask one other question?
Please,
self-care question. Goodness. It's totally not even about this, but hair.
Hair.
Oh, yes.
What you do? You are wearing beautiful locks right now.
Yes. Salon Daba. It's on Yelp.
Oh, I know that. Is it Senegalese? Are they Senegalese?
Yes.
Yes.
They're great.
What advice would you give women who want to be in the industry?
Learn your craft, number one. I went to UCLA thinking I was doing it for credibility because I'm older and I need the credibility, the halo effect of a brand like UCLA. So people, no, I ain't know how to write. I got there oh shit, I'm bad. Or I'm good, but I'm not great. Because I didn't know the craft. Let other people, even people that honest friend, send that script to that person.
Yes, okay.
As well as the people who are going to say they love you no matter what.
Yeah, you need both of them, right?
Right.
You need both
of balance it out.
Film school is an option in terms of learning your craft. Everybody, that's a big investment. I'm still paying for it now. But it was worth it. And then I would say enter contests, fellowships, anything that can garner attention. Number one, you'll start to get feedback on the scripts. If it's not getting traction, you could start to maybe wonder why or learn your craft more or try to hire help to analyze your scripts just to see where you are. But what can happen is judges for some of the top contests, and you can Google them, whether it's TV or film, the top TV or film writing contests, a lot of the judges are managers and production company execs. So my first calls for manager came from entering a UCLA contest and winning it, and then getting managers calling me. You know what I mean? So that's, it's basically, I would get mad when when teachers would say, just write. When I would ask for advice, I'm like, what advice is that? But that's all you can do. And then you can put it out there that way, but that's really all you can do. And then things will happen. You just take one step, and this first step is honing your craft, and then the rest will happen. If that's what's meant to happen, and your talent is there. Yeah.
I so appreciate you saying that, because I do. It's tough putting your work out there, right? It's your baby, and putting your work out there, and then accepting that if the reaction is not, yes, we want this, or you're not, you're not even becoming a semifinalist, and that it does mean that's on on you going back and working on it.
Exactly. Right? After a while. I mean, when you first start doing it, you're so new, it just might be, because writing is a muscle. The more you do it, the better you are. It's magical how that happens. It sounds like BS, but it's real. So it might be that you're too green and you just need to keep doing it and try that again. But if you've been doing that a couple of years and you've got no traction, you probably have to maybe get a script. They're like script reading services to give you some feedback, because you might want to know where you're going wrong at that point. But then usually you get nibbles, and nibbles lead to other nibbles that lead to other things. And it's just hard to predict. Everyone's story is different in so many ways.
I have a crush on your voice.
Never should have told me that.
It's
Actually, I made a cameo in episode 10 of Bigger.
What?
Oh,
I did
could you
Siri.
be my Siri?
I was like,
voice?
I don't know.
Wait, you did the British Siri. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm not doing it in front of you.
I was
like, I don't know.
Oh, that was good.
Was that good? I don't know.
That wasn't bad.
You're not kicking me out for it.
It wasn't good.
If I go beyond that, it turns Irish, then it gets a little Jamaican.
Oh my goodness, Felischa Marye.
Thank you.
We feel
such
so
a great
incredibly
interview.
fortunate to have you.
so
Thank
much.
you
I
for
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
teaching us,
Thank
leading
you.
us how to do it right in this industry. That was Felischa Marye. She is the creator and co-executive producer of the comedy Bigger on BET Plus.
Thanks for listening to Sister Brunch. I'm Anya Adams.
And I'm Fanshen Cox.
Join us next time.
Hey there, this is Christabel Insiabwadi, the executive producer of Sister Brunch. You will have heard me weighing in on the conversation. I hope you enjoyed the show. Visit our website, we're at sisterbrunch.com, and join our community of creators. We're on Twitter at Sister Brunch, on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast, and we're on Facebook at facebook.com/Sister Brunch Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.